It's a top of the table clash between IG and Lucky Future. IG on 9 wins, Lucky Future on 8 up to this point. And a win here would be very good indeed, with only 4 matches still to go towards clinching one of those top 2 spots. IG have brought the Demon Hunter, the Druid, the Warlock and the Warrior, with the Demon Hunter getting banned. The Demon Hunter that most people didn't bring this week because of the nerf to Twin Slice. And Yueying with the Warrior, the Hunter, pretty rare pick, the Druid and the Rogue. We've seen a lot of Rogue this week, probably more than we have Demon Hunter, which is a surprise, but not a surprise. We've seen this so many times in this event. It's a Druid mirror to open up with. What can I say about Druid mirrors that I haven't already said? Not much. You want to get on board first, and you want to hit your opponent until they die from it. And if you get on board first, it can be very, very hard for your opponent to turn it around, although it is definitely possible. It's not quite as straightforward as just making some glowflies and winning, at least not usually. Sif with a pretty tragic looking hand right now, but that's time for it to sort itself out over the next couple of turns. Yueying, on the other hand, will be looking to make glowflies next turn. Glowflies that at the moment Sif will be unable to deal with. 2 of the most experienced players in the tournament. I think Sif gets credit from the Chinese community for being extremely experienced. We've barely seen him play, but apparently he is up there with Lee as the best 2 players in the country, and we should expect to see more of Sif. Gets his Mount Seller established, so we'll be able to do some fighting back, as it turns out, next turn against the glowflies. Yueying needs to work out the potential damage here, should he play them, but really, what else can you do? I guess, has he got enough damage to actually kill this? Has he got the mana for it? He's got the damage. No? 1 short, right? Double Crystal Power's 4. Savage Roar makes it 6. 1 mana left over. Moonfire is 7. But Hero Powers cost 2. Interesting though. Glowflies will make 6 Glowflies. And it should be pretty difficult for Sif to deal with, but Yueying doesn't have the information that we have that actually Sif's hand's a bit ropey. No pun intended with the rope going across the screen. And Yueying does decide he can't make it work, so just does the more obvious looking play and decides to see what trouble he will get into. Well, he can get into trouble if there's a rush minion made here, but nothing so far. But it's a huge board. You can see why Yueying was trying to find something else to do. This is what he feared was going to happen. But Savage Roar off the top gives him double Savage Roar. That means he should be able to clear pretty much everything. His minions will go to 6 attack. That means he can Crystal Power down the Mukla and trade 1 of his Glowflies. He can put another Glowfly straight into the Mount Seller. But the Soul of the Forest is going to keep Sif in a strong position. So maybe that's not a route to victory here for Yueying. And this Mount Seller sticking has basically won the game. Who knew? So what else can Yueying do? He's got to deal with a Mount Seller, which means he's got to deal with a Mukla to get to it. And after that, it's anybody's guess. Try and get rid of as much of the stuff on the board as possible, but it's a very unpleasant experience for Yueying, this. Take the value trade while you're there. He makes your opponent's board bigger, that's the problem. I don't even know. Yeah, he doesn't know either. He sticks in the face. If you don't know, hit him in the face. Kind of Hearthstone adage. So, definitely not over yet, but you can see, Sif in a very strong position. Yueying has got plenty of card draw, but unfortunately for him it won't draw him Mount Sellers, which is what he really needs right now, or Asiras, which is what he also really needs right now. And he may want to consider getting to 10 mana here, just so that he can cycle a card next turn. Well, that makes a difference. Loses one Mount Seller, but does have the overflow. Sif, though, is going to be able to establish his Isira next turn. But it's not the steamroll yet that you would normally expect from a Druid Mirror. But there is no doubt that Yueying is up against it. And in Last Hero Standing, losing mirror matches is often fatal, just the way it works out. I mean, for a start, you're 1-0 down, right? Like, first to 3, going 1-0 down is quite a big deal, whatever the match. But the point with mirror matches is that it can snowball out of control, because your opponent gets to keep the deck. Maybe it goes on to win another game, and then, you know, suddenly you're 2-0 down when you could have been not in that position. So it's a big deal. And Sif just keeping his nose in front here. And Yueying is going to pretty much have to waste a turn overflowing. Quite often the overflow is great and you've got the time to do so. Here, not so much. If Sif will bog beam this, I think I would. Just choosing not to. So here's the overflow. He needs this to be good. It should be good. It's enough cards. And kind of whiffs on everything there. That is not healthy for Yueying. He's on 24 health though and Sif's out of stuff. Does have those portals invested in his deck. Yueying on the other side. Plenty of cards, but none of them actually do anything right now. Only 8 cards left. One of those is a Sira, one's a Mount Seller. Second Glowfly. So, weirdly, Yueying might not be in the worst spot here. It all sort of depends on those portals for Sif. He's going to get to draw at least 2 cards next turn. So maybe, just maybe, it works out okay. Well, he doesn't need them to be huge, he just needs them to appear. And he is getting that card advantage now from the portals. Picks up the overflow as well, has the Soul of the Forest number 2 ready to go. And that's going to make a massive difference here. It's his 3rd card of the turn. He should now just be able to keep board. Not sure what Yueying would be able to do with a Mount Seller. He'd be able to do quite a bit with a Mount Seller, to be fair. And this is Sif's issue now, is wondering what to do with his Mount Seller next turn. So keeping back at least 3 playable spells. Yueying. Yeah, I like this play. This gives him 1 shot to get the Mount Seller. But if he gets it, which he doesn't, he would have been in a great position to move forward. Whereas the more likely hit, the dump some cards in overflow. What does that actually do? You probably just die next turn. And Yueying here will probably feel a little bit robbed by this game. He's got 5 cards left in his deck and they're sort of all the ones he wants. Well, there's the Mount Seller, but surely it's too late. Isn't it? Maybe he does get away with it. Who knows? He'll be able to generate a lot of steeds, but remember, some of these minions are... Well, all these minions are Soul of the Forested, Sif just needs to shore this up. I think you just go full board. Taking his time. Going for dragons. Might be the same thing as full board. There's a 12-12. That helps. Now he's cooking. And he is going to almost certainly take this 1-0 lead. But there is the small matter of Yueying's massive Mount Seller turn. Shouldn't be enough, and he just gives it up, in fact. Presumably having worked out that there was nothing he could do about it. And Sif takes a 1-0 lead. Sif, one of the strongest players in China. Picking up a lot of points in the system that is the equivalent of our old HCT point system. And just generally regarded as super good at Hearthstone. Works very hard, apparently. Always a big help in Hearthstone if you can do that. Yueying queuing up this hunter, the natural thing to queue into Druid while Druid's messing around, setting themselves up for that huge turn. The hunter's just hitting it, and nice hand here from Yueying. And more, the more we see of Hunter, the more we do see that it's actually hard, despite the fact it's Highlanders, to get a really bad hand. You know, some of the hands might be a little bit clunky. I mean, this one's not perfect, but you'd have it every day of the week. It's a nice hand. And due to the hero power and kill command and that sort of stuff, as long as he gets the early damage in, then can go over the top for the closing points of damage. Looking even better at the moment because Sif has no ramp and no card draw. And these are the hands that destroy Druids. He's got to decide whether he wants to spend 3 mana on a Bog Beam here, just to remove a pesky 2-3. He may decide it's not worth it. It'll combine nicely with Crystal Power to remove something bigger in the future. So I think he just has to do nothing here. Could use the Crystal Power and Hero Power, I guess, if he wanted to, but that just feels worse than Bog Beaming, so... The only advantage to Bog Beam is should he get to 7 mana, obviously some sort of Mount Seller shenanigans would be available. Problem is, if you don't start dealing with minions that you see, the game can get out of control very fast. But personally, I think you've got to leave this one. Okay. Now the problem's going to become what he does about the next minion. If this is a Misha, for instance, that could be really bad news. Another problem of using the way he did it last turn is if he wants to destroy another minion now, the Bog Beam's going to cost 3. And he could have sort of used that last turn and now have the ability to do things cheaply. For instance, I'm not saying he would want to do it anyway, but Savage Roar and the Crystal Power would be available at least as an option. This all flips on its head, of course, when he gets to 7 mana and the Bog Beam costs 0. And I think he was correct, but you can see why it took him so long to make a decision. Certainly some negative consequences of his choice as well as the positive ones. Maybe he would have killed it, you know. Because then he'd be able to at least get into overflow turns. But this is horrible. He's absolutely stuffed until next turn. Actually just plays the Soul of the Forest for something to do. So maybe last turn he should have Bog Beamed, and then this turn he would have been able to Savage Roar and Crystal Power. Maybe that was an improvement there. Yueying doesn't care. He's just inserting minions into Sif's face and seeing what happens. And what happens is Sif loses health points. Gets back some of those health points, and he does hit the innovate that he needed to be able to at least play Hearthstone next turn. But is it going to be enough? Yueying can do an absurd amount of damage here. Not even messing around, like weaving in hero powers, just getting on with it. He obviously has 5 available from kill commands, 2 available from hero powers, 7 over the top damage available. And Sif is basically dead. It's going to go to 1-1, I think. In this big showdown here at the top of the table. A win for IG, it wouldn't secure them at all, but it put them in a really, really good spot. And they must have won so many games in a row now. 6 or something. Maybe 5 to get here. And again, LF must have done the same. They must have won a good percentage of their recent matches too. Remember that VK were the early leaders on 6 and 2. And everybody seems to be going past VK. The young, inexperienced team. I'm saying inexperienced about the team with a world champion in it, but, you know. I'm happy to go with the fact that VK are still improving. I don't think it's necessarily an insult. I think they are very, very good, very organised, and I would be scared to play them at any time. He rounds that up with his Hunter, and that leaves Sif with his Warlock and his Warrior, because his Demon Hunter was banned. The Demon Hunter that most people didn't play, getting banned. They wouldn't have had any time to playtest it particularly, but those who had the vision to realise it wasn't going to hurt it much have done very well, I think, or will do very well. Queues up the Warrior, the Egg Warrior, in this pretty good matchup. In fact, he's pretty well set. He's only got to beat the Hunter and Rogue, and he should be fine on both of those. I think he's a Highlander Rogue, which is slightly better for the Rogue because it can play some slightly bigger things and generally be just a little bit more annoying. It also has some bigger high roll starts with Zephrys early can be a problem, especially with the Shadow Step. But yeah, Sif firmly in control here with this Warrior in his lineup. And that has been made possible by the fact that Demon Hunter was banned. Yueying. Not ideal here, not terrible though. Trying to go infinite maybe on the Drakes. He actually is going to take another one. Okay. Sif is so good on this Warrior deck. He plays it so quickly. He's not a particularly fast player normally, but I have noticed how comfortable he is with Warrior, which is interesting because Warrior is a very tough deck to play well. It's a very easy deck to play quite well when you get used to it. When you very first see it, if you've never seen this before, if you've been away from Hearthstone for a year or two, it might take you a little while to get your head around it. The interactions don't make instinctive Hearthstone sense when you very first see the deck. I know there'll be a lot of you watching this saying, of course they do, Lorinda, it's obvious, but think back, it wasn't obvious how this worked. When No Hands Gamer was sitting there playing it, a lot of people, even very strong players, like, I just don't understand what's happening. How does this collection of garbage become so powerful? But it does. It's all in those risky skippers. But it's in the versatility of what you can do. You can get semi-combo kill, you can just dominate board, you can gain lots of armour. Which is a bit of a meme, the armour gain. It's definitely a way to win sometimes, but I think people overrate how good the armour kill is. Like, if it comes your way, you take it and it wins you games, but playing for it as like a main theme, not so much. Well, Sif having to work that one out. Always a bit messy when you end up doing more than 1 or 2 damage with the skippers. You can end up with unintentional minion deaths, but this looks alright. Should be able to get a battle rage off if he's unhindered next turn. And the problem with Hunter is that it can't really deal with multiple things. It's very good at dealing with one thing at a time. Obviously it does have Varanus and Unleash, so it can deal with more. But in general, Hunter plays a card that kills your card. And theirs is bigger than yours, and they grind you down that way. When it gets behind, it can struggle to come back, as we're seeing here. Like, desperately hunting for cheap options to play. And they don't exist. That's because you're playing the biggest thing every turn on curve. That's what the deck is designed to do, and it does it well. Having a turn like this one, which Yueying has manipulated nicely to get a couple of things down, is much harder than you'd like it to be. And now Sif's got to go into the tank, I feel. Plenty of bad things start happening to him here. Loads of 6 drops, then there's Siamad on 7, there's Bran. Alex Straza on 9, as we can see in hand. Sif needs to keep control of this board, and it's easy enough to do, but is it easy enough to do convincingly? Maybe he'll just go for a massive battle rage, but it feels like a bit of a cop-out. And also it feels like it's a little bit slow. Nice pick up on the Lackey though, I think. Should be able to turn his egg into a Hearthstone card now, if he even needs to. Yep, use the Lackey to trade in. And that's another turn ticked off for the Warrior, without anything bad happening. And you can see that soon he's going to get into the territory where he can risky skipper, bomb wrangler, play a Sky Raider, and there'll be bombs, and then he can battle rage and have more cards. It's all coming together now. And on top of that, he's got the charge of the Korkons, he's got the rampage. Good things seem to be in the future here for Sif. Yueying, on the other hand, going to need a good Alex Straza, a good Dragon Queen, otherwise I think he might be in trouble. And he's got to be alive at that point. Picking up the mercenaries when Korkons and Rampages exist, that can start becoming dangerous. That's like 14 damage he might be able to output in one turn if he gets to the 10 mana turns. We'll want to be in control of it before that though, because of Alex Straza. So the first thing you go to here when you're trying to work out your turn really is the Blood Boil Brute. Sif will be looking to get that down as cheaply as possible, maybe even copy it. But it doesn't look like there's a particularly great way of getting that done. So he's going to go with Bomb Wrangler. It looks like he's going to copy the Wrangler as well. The bombs do so much work. It almost goes unnoticed if you're not paying attention, but there you go, 4 to face. The way they clear boards, they make boards very hard to play into. What do you do here? Maybe even pause the video and have a think, like, what do you do if you're Yueying? There's no trick to this question, it's just like, those Bomb Wranglers are just completely taking everything over. So Zephyrus Brawl is likely your option here. Or Zephyrus Holy Nova, actually. And what happens is you've played a turn as the hunter. The bombs have done their work. And you pass the turn back. That's He works with Fan of Knives. Well played, Yueying. He really is solid, Yueying. Again, that one was pretty straightforward when you actually clock their all ones. I just noticed they're all big minions with no health. But yeah, got the maximum out of his turn. You don't see him mess those up. And Sif getting pretty close to lethal. Mercenaries have gone, of course, but he does have the option to play a 9 damage Corcoran. I think he'll want to do that next turn. So what can he do to set that up this turn? Just play all of his other cards. I think you kobold down the Zephyrus. And maybe you just drop the Brute. Like just play it for its mana cost. Yeah. Pretty much the same as I was thinking, although he wanted to keep the Kobold back and get down a Sky Raider instead. Not much difference there. Certainly looking at Yueying's hand, like, he's just out of ideas. So he's facing 7 that he can see. You tend to assume there's a weapon coming. So he might think he's okay for health. He's obviously dead to Grommash, and he'll know that. So he is going to put a lot of damage into killing off this board and hope things work out right. It might be okay. Oh, he draws the mercenaries. He was hovering over the Corcoran Elite before he even drew them, because this is now lethal damage for 18. Almost like he was willing it to come. I'm not sure where he would have been had he not picked them up. Yueying, although he was starting to stabilise the board, still had a lot of damage to do, and I think Sif would have chipped away slowly but surely, but definitely a timely pick-up there for Sif. And takes 2 on lead, and now all he has to do is beat Rogue. Of the Highlander variety, I believe. Let me just have a little look, because that hand kind of doesn't look like Highlander to me. Yep, it's a Rogue. Sorry, yep, it's a Highlander. And you can see there the Mana Saber. If I just waited and been patient, I would have seen that and I'd have known. Sif. Got an okay looking curve here. You really like getting the Warmore champion against Rogue. It's just so nice to be able to... Warmore champion? Warmore challenger. It's so nice to be able to play that card. Rogue finds it incredibly hard to deal with. Obviously we can see there's a sap, so I went to check if that was his only sap there, then realised it's a Highlander deck, so it probably is his only one. Sif just sticking to principles, playing on curve, and now Yueying will draw 3 cards. Did I say 3? 3 threes should draw 3 cards. He will in fact draw 2 cards, because that's what the card does. And Sif, with no way of injuring his egg, will be a little irritated, but he's under no immediate danger. A lot of high health minions in this deck compared to most Rogue decks. Obviously there will be plenty of lackeys, but maybe Sif is tempted to put the Lance in. Get yourself a lackey. There's no clear cut turn here. Challenger just to tidy up the Sage is okay. But yeah, he is just going to get the Lackey. Give himself some more options, especially for next turn. And that's the worst one you can get, usually. Not going Sif's way yet, but again, he's getting all the tools together. He's a risky skipper away from some nonsensically good turns. So he'll be alright. He's quite a fidgeter, isn't he, Sif? No. Most Hearthstone players sit pretty still. But not Sif. He's constantly on the move. The overactive brain, I think that is. Or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, it makes him fidget. Doesn't seem to impact his play, though. Oh, all this stealth. And so many dead cards in Sif's hand now as well. I think you play a Warm Challenger now. Things are going to get out of hand really quickly around here. And you might even play the Pirate, even though you'd rather try and target a dagger. Just get some things on the board. Rogues are unforgiving when they start getting wide boards. So just getting some minions out there, I think, is Sif's best move here. There is the option to put the Warm Challenger in and coin out a Rampage and hope there's no sap. Tyrant's pretty good, but it's a long, long way away being able to be used. But against Rogue, it should get 2 hits. And Sif chooses not to injure the Challenger, which is, again, a discussion point. Do you want a 110 or a 17 that's injured that can carry a couple of Rampages? Sif will not want to Rampage up the same minion because of sap, but there comes a point where you have to say this is getting out of control and I want a big thing. Probably not there yet. Easy for me to say, I can see both hands, but Yueying definitely with a way back into this game if you can take this match, if you can take this game. The Rogue versus the Warlock will be a tough one if we get that far. The Maniac. See why a lot of decks sort of just quietly cut this card. It's so expensive for what it does, but it's also so nice to be able to advance that Galakond. And again, in Highlander in particular, you just start running out of good rogue cards at some point. It's not like Hunter where you could probably play a 40 card deck and still get away with it. Rogue has a lot of very good cards, but they do taper off pretty quickly towards the end, at least in terms of synergy. I'm trying to work out Sif's plan here. He seems very reticent to try and get these Rampages installed. He'll be planning for something, but he is. I mean, he's just in a spot, right? The Spy Mistress automatically puts you in a bit of a tough spot, and then with the Mana Saber as well, the fact that Sif can't interact with all this is making it awkward. And it's interesting that Yueying is holding firm, not attacking with a Spy Mistress, knowing that Risky Skipper just kills it on sight. Indication onto how Yueying sees Sif's hand. Well, on the one side of the board we've got a decent amount of attack On the other side, we've got a decent amount of health and no attack. Next turn, Yueying gets the chance to Togwaggle. May even see him get to Shadow Step it, depending on the board state, whether he needs it out there or not. Trying to find some more value. I don't know these cards. I'm going to be honest. Okay, well, a no pilfer. It's a weird game. Yueying not really able to kill off Sif's things, and Sif not really able to kill off Yueying's things. But in that situation, Yueying kind of gets the best of it because he has the best interactions for now. Sap's going to be painfully good here. Obviously there's the wand as well, which is the real big deal. But the Sap is a definite great second prize. And when you've got first and second prize, you're in a good place. Could all change if Sif could just pick up a skipper and get this bomb wrangler going. Or an Ankar or something, then he's definitely still in this. He's generating wide boards. But now it's wand time. Well, Normana Galacons are usually pretty good, but this is Highlander, although he's picked up the Praise Galacon to go with it. So he does get to advance his Galacons. Okay. This is going to be a crazy Hearthstone turn. A lot is going to happen, and at the end of it, Yueying is going to have a huge board, and Sif's going to have almost nothing left. Oh my! That's an Alexstrasza. I think Yueying just has to make a quick decision here about like what could clear this board, because the only thing he needs to worry about is an insane bomb wrangler skipper turn, and he knows there's no skipper. It would have been played by now. He's looking for all the world like Yueying is going to get this back to 2 apiece. He's going to have to move fast though. He hasn't yet dealt with everything out there. Does fire off the Sap, which at the start of the turn looked like it might be one of the highlights, but as it happens, it's just lost in the shuffle of all the other crazy nonsense that's going on here. And Sif, he may have already conceded, but definitely needs help here. Well, that's not a risky skipper. Sends out an emote, and it goes to 2-2. Yueying doesn't even look phased. Going to go into game number 5. Sif is going to be on the Warlock, taking down the Rogue. Pretty close matchup, especially with this Rogue, because it draws enough cards and gets enough health out there to play around a lot of the early game. Like the Stealth plays around the Nether Breaths, and the high health totals play around Dark Skies, although there are 2 Dark Skies in Sif's hand. And a plot twist, he's where he wants to be. Yueying's got a nice looking curve. I mean, a lot of the cards don't do a great deal, but there's no massive hurry. He can get enough out there quickly enough. Oh, please take Antonidas. It's not a clear-cut case at all. But just the thought of getting 2 or 3 fireballs later in the game makes me happy. What's Warlock supposed to do about that when they're constantly pushing their health total to the limit? A couple of surprise fireballs might well just end a game. And Yueying begins the assembling process. Could do with another mid-range thing. The sticky finger's not really going to cut it. That's more of a minion to get evolved later on. There's a better minion. Not a nice spot here for Yueying, obviously. Coining out the Miscreant seems all well and good, but cuts down your Edwin chances and also cuts down your race to 6, 7, 9 that we see in the hand. But you've got to do something. Whoa! I think that was right, but he did it so quickly. Titanic's really good in this spot. It would have put 10 health on the board, 11 health on the board. Which... Anyway, if you're going to roll Pit Lord, then you do this. That's given Sif a big problem to deal with. Like, it's only one turn before he can deal with it, but it's going to feel like an eternity. It takes so much damage next turn. How do you even go about dealing with this? I suppose you could Dark Skies. It doesn't kill everything, but then next turn it's almost impossible for Yueying to be out of range, so you Dark Skies again. It seems to be that's Sif's line of thinking. Plus there's the outside chance. How did the 1/1 survive, by the way? That shouldn't be possible. There is the outside chance that the Pit Lord dies, even though it's tiny, so... some stuff at least in Sif's favour there. And now the second Dark Skies with a tap will clear everything up. Be down to 17 though. But he will have dealt with an Edwin, a good evolve, and a pretty powerful all-around start. And we can see that Yueying will now start to run out of stuff. You might have to play a Sticky Finger here, for instance. I mean, you play it. But now the Warlock's done the tough part, still on 17. Obviously still a lot to go. Play these Abyssals. Summon some big things. There's only one sap in Yueying's deck. And you can play it 2 turns running. You've seen his last turn. 5 mana turn makes a 4/4. That's all he had. So you can assume that there's some heavy stuff in there. You can also assume that his hand's not good. So I think you can play the Abyssal, and I think you can play it again the turn after, if you get sapped. Although maybe you work out there's a sap. See what he chooses to go with. He's going to Plot Twist. Getting that quest basically completed while he's got the chance. It's an interesting one though. But to be fair, the quicker you complete the quest, the quicker you start getting massive mana advantage. The quicker you start getting that, the quicker you start getting back at the rogue, who will have natural tempo advantage. So this looks like an easy Seal Fate just to set up Togwaggle next turn. Flick is tempting because it uses your mana, but then you don't get the Togwaggle. Downside of using Seal Fate is you use up one of the spells that Antonidas would love to have. But it looks so clean. There are some considerations for not worrying about setting things up though when Sif is down to 19, 4/4 on the board. So flick this for instance, push 4 with 8 on board. It's a tempting proposition. And this uses the mana better than Seal Fate, so I can get behind this. Also gets that stupid maniac out of the way. And if Galacon is drawn, it's been advanced a little, so okay. Well, Sif isn't short on options to deal with this. He's not going to be short on options for a while. Quest will get completed if he gets a hero power. How scared is he to play Netherwing and Mortal Coil? Pretty scared. Feel? It's difficult. And it's not difficult now, it's difficult to know which of these things you're going to need in 2 or 3 turns time. I think Sif is interested in keeping the Netherwing because Rogue can just explode out wide at any point because of lackeys, and you want to have that AoE. So he chooses to do it this way, which leaves the little guys hanging around, which can be very handy against Rogue. Just a little standoff. Second Alex though. And the wand. It's looking super good for Yueying. Imagine if you get some naught mana spells with this wand to go with the Antonidas later. Oof. Meanwhile, Civ just has answers for days. And he does have a 9 mana Mali, so probably won't get some sort of combo kill, but you're going to have to keep going if you're Yueying to get through these defences. Sif got so much removal available to him. So finds a spot he likes for the Netherwing. I think we'll see the Abyssal as well. Try and have a big swing turn, trying to overload Yueying's defences. Can't see why you wouldn't now play an 8-8. Yep, Sif gets the value out of the Mortal Coil as well. And has a lot of damage in play suddenly here at match point. And Yueying's going to have to trust in the deck, I feel. Saps first and makes space. It's not a mistake. He wants to get space to get all of his cards from the wand. This is Zephyrus. And Galacon. Okay. Galacon up to level 2. It always scares me when it goes back to 7 mana briefly like that and then back to 0 again. I think I've missed some crazy interaction, but no, it's just how the client works. More cards. Rogue's silly when it does all this stuff. It's absolute nonsense. None of the above. Right wing? It's the only card that makes any sense. Okay, we are on lethal watch on both sides. Massive health totals, but we know that Sif can iron that out quickly if he gets the right naught mana cards. Which so far he's not been doing. All of his cards seem pretty expensive for a deck that generates naught drops. And every turn you have to think so hard, like, what I'd like to do here for instance is play Abyssal Summoner and tap. That's great, as long as you can play another card if the tap gets you a card you don't want to spend 0 on. So you're constantly trying to work out. We saw Bunny Hopper overdraw because of this, because he picked her Zephyrus with his tap. You're constantly trying to work out if you actually can ditch a card somewhere. It's a really weird interaction that you're trying to make cards and lose cards. This is the perfect card, by the way. This is exactly what he wants. Just to get a chance of drawing some of those big cards again. Although he's cast some of them now. Oh. Not ideal. 2 8s, a 9, 2 6s. Not where you want to be. But also not where you want to be is where Yueying is right now. Facing down all this damage on board against a deck you know has combo kill potential. Flick away the 2/2s. What do you do about the 9/9? Flick away the 2/2s. Shadow Earth Death the 9/9? I think he can still do that. Even after this Brightwing, he can. It doesn't sound very appealing though. That's the problem with that play. Is there anything you can do using the Rush Lucky? Okay. He'll keep his Zephyrus and just let one of the 2/2s survive. In fact, you can use the Rush Lucky to get rid of the other one. So, this works. And once again, Yueying gets a nice board. Well, he gets a board. A 2 health board, yeah, it's so easy removed. Double Rain of Fire was already there. Moag with single Rain of Fire. And now Netherwing. All things that he knows full well will get cleared. The worst thing about that turn is he didn't get to play his Alexstraszas, his Dragon Queens. What he wants to do is just have a couple of turns to play 3 huge dragons a turn. But Sif ticking along nicely here. See, 7 cards left. Chance of a 0 mana Malygos is getting a little bit higher now. And with Double Rain of Fire, for instance, you know, setting up 12 damage from hand. I think the Soulfire's still there somewhere. He did hover over it to use it earlier, but I don't think he actually did use it, so he'll be looking for that. He does hit a 0 mana Zephyrus. That's pretty nice. Messes up your natural thinking. You've got to think like, what's Zeph going to offer? Well, Zephyrus on turn 10, he might get a Pyro. And this is setting up for that. No, it's not, because you don't double the spell. But hey. Yueying, he seems to feel, I get the reasoning that he needs to clear every board, but I think there's so much on the line if he gets it wrong, but just taking a turn off and hoping that you don't die and playing all this Alexstrasza nonsense, I do feel this is the right play. I feel he's going to die because of it, even though he's not currently. But I do feel it's the right play. Otherwise he's just going to constantly be clearing boards until Sif has him beat for sure. So it's not easily identifiable as right or wrong. With Caster Vision it makes it even harder to work that out. But it feels right to me. And it's given Sif issues. He can deal with this, obviously. He has Twisting Nether available. He's a bit sad that he drew the Dragon Queen, though. He'd love that to be 0 mana later. Ideally, you want to play Dragon Queen, Alexstrasza and Twisting Nether on the same turn. Let you work out which order. But it looks like he's trying to tap into the Mali and just misses, so Twisting Nether seems the way forward, but is it? The way he's pointing somewhere else, maybe he's got something else in mind. Yeah, he's going face. That means he's Twisting Nethering, I think. He just couldn't find anything in the time that was going to work for him. And the reason he didn't want to do that is the tempo we keep talking about. The rogue comes straight back at him, and I mean, this is worse than he could even have imagined. It's just the second Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. And he's not going to have much time to work it out either. This Nosdamu is really relevant. There's a lethal on the board. He has got... Fist animations are not quick. Sif's not panicking though. Not like me. I was panicking. But he did manage to tidy it all up. And that is a 0-mana Malygos. Time to do some numbers. 9 plus... Well, it's lethal. Yeah, it's 9 plus 6 plus 6. 9 plus 12. 21 exactly. And that was facing down Nosdamu at the start of the turn. Sif and IG get it done once again. A really grueling match there against Yueying. But IG are the first team to hit 10 wins, as they've still got 4 more matches to play as well.